Sometimes the simplest things hold the deepest meanings. That's what the Lenormand Deck is all about. No frills, no riddles, just clear everyday symbols that speak to our daily lives. Unlike the tarot, with its intricate layers of esoteric symbolism, Lenormand feels like a conversation with an old friend. When you see a card like, let's say, the house, you don't need to analyze it for hours. It's exactly what you think it is. A home, a place, a shelter, and belonging. And that's simplicity. It speaks to me deeply. Why, well, it reminds me of my childhood in Puerto Rico, long before the internet took over our lives. Growing up in the 80s and the 90s, life was raw, immediate, tangible. It was analog. The smells of wet earth right after the rain. The sound of the rain on the techo de zinc, the metal plates on that were the roofs of the houses. The sound of the coquis at night was overwhelming, the magical. The lightning bugs, right? Cucubanos at night. The breeze, the gentle breeze on the palm trees at night, the moonlight, the stars, the clouds, the sky was so close. Everything. It was so mystical, magical at the same time. It just, my memories are so vivid of that time living in Puerto Rico. The sight of my abuelo, my Don Paco's machete by the doorway. That simplicity shaped me. And I wanted this deck to capture that feeling, to make reading the cards more accessible, more personal at the same time. A tool that helps us tell stories, see signs, and make sense of things without overcomplicating them. And here's the thing. The character, the energy, the vibe that these cards emanate, I'm talking about the Lenormand deck, speak to those simpler times when I was living back in Puerto Rico. That's why it resonates with me so deeply. Just take, for example, in these cards, you take the image of the dog, the child, the tree. They're so familiar. Everyone must have some sort of memory or recollection of those things at a personal level. And that's what I find so fascinating about this deck. As much as the cards I just mentioned seem pretty straightforward and easy to describe in visual terms, there were some that stood out in the way that became problematic. Take, for example, the fox or the bear. How in the world would I paint these in a tropical setting like the one I grew up in? Unless they're in the zoo of Mayagüez, which I really hope they're not. Poor guys. They don't belong in the island. Instead, I had to do some research and find animals that would fit both the symbolic meaning and also speak to my personal experiences growing up in the island. As much as I'd like to paint a fox or a bear, it would seem just completely random and out of place in this out of their natural environments. Of course, creating this deck wasn't an overnight thing. It took me longer than expected. I actually had the idea years ago, but well, life happens, deadlines, and other projects keep piling up, and it was really hard to get at it. I kept all these 36 gesso board panels, 11 by 7 inches, lined up on my main studio wall right in front of me. And every morning, when I got up, very early in the morning, I'd stare at those blank boards and imagine how they would come to life. It was like they were waiting for me to finally give them a voice. I looked at these blank panels and thought of how I would fill them up with images that convey both the essence of the deck, but also personal memories of the island I grew up in. I had a simple goal: to marry the universal meanings of the Lenormand symbols with my own personal memories of Puerto Rico. It felt like a dance of sorts between tradition and intuition. Yes, I read a few books on the Lenormand, but in the end, I leaned into my gut and intuition and asked, what does this symbol mean to me? Take the fox, for example. In a European setting, it's a clever trickster. But growing up in Puerto Rico, there are no foxes. So what felt cunning, elusive, and a bit wild to me? Cats. Not just street cats. I grew up with cats. There were cats everywhere. And we grew up in a farm, and you know what that implies to a fragile ecosystem, poor lizards. But the rats were gone as well. Well, there were always rats for some reason. But the cat just became a perfect stand-in for the fox. And the bear, same issue. Bears don't belong in the tropics. And instead of a bear, I chose a bull. Why? Because bulls, just as cows, are just part of the landscape. They're so iconic, not just in the everyday, but the stories of old, of our grandparents. They represent strength and stubborn resilience, just like the bear in the Lenormand. And for the scythe, I had to swap it for something that felt real, more common to the Puerto Rican experience. And in Puerto Rico, that would be the machete. My grandfather's machete wasn't just a tool, it was a symbol of so many stories and survival and a way to clear paths and to protect what mattered. Some of you might already know this, but I lost nearly my entire body of work during Hurricane Maria in 2017. Drawings, paintings, photographs, you name it, books. There's so much into it that it wasn't just the storm itself, though it was devastating enough. In the aftermath, with no electricity, there was looting and trespassing. Entire collections of all my work, as I said, paintings, drawings, gone forever. I had photos of it, some digital documentation, but the physical pieces, the essence of them, were lost forever. So I asked myself, how do I honor what was lost? How do I bring them back? That can never be truly replaced. And then it clicked. I'd recreate their spirit in this deck. Not by copying these old pieces, but by reimagining their essence. And these were not perfect pieces, but some of them were really good. And those landscapes, those memories, they lived here now. And these cards, the vistas I painted from memory, half sweet, half bitter, like the island itself. It was no paradise. It was home in all its flawed and beautiful complexity. Living in Puerto Rico wasn't always easy. So much didn't go my way. As a matter of fact, much of it didn't. But that built resilience, their determination, maybe even the fire that drove me into becoming an artist in the first place. And that's why this project feels so important. It's not just a deck. It's a love letter to an island that shaped me in all its chaos and beauty. And after all, I really wanted to make a Lenormand deck that speaks to me as I do a reading. In the end, this is what card making should be about. Making the job of doing a reading much easier. Going with the flow and reading it naturally. Almost like describing a painting or a movie after seeing it. Well, why not recreate this lost work in a deck of cards like the Tarot with its massive 78 cards? For me, it just didn't feel right. Let me mention a few things that I think make this deck, this Lenormand deck, very interesting and stand apart from, let's say, the Tarot, which most people are familiar with. The Tarot has 78 cards. The Lenormand is just 36. In the Tarot, you have major and minor arcanas. In many cases, they can be read upright and reversed. In the Lenormand, all cards are of equal importance, and cards are always read upright, which I really like. Just like paintings, I don't put paintings upside down to interpret what are they saying to me, unless I want to see an abstract version of that painting. I respect whoever does tarot readings of the cards reversed, but I personally always read them upright, just as I do with my work, with my paintings. With the Tarot, you read based on the positions of the spreads. With the Lenormand, you read based on the proximity of each other, and they're non-esoteric. Unlike the Tarot, which is very esoteric and has this complex symbolism, it's very deep. With the Lenormand, it's single, simple image, very straightforward, very day-to-day, and the cards only read as combinations, and they spread up to 36 cards. There's no more. In the Tarot, you can spread up from 3 to 15 cards, and the cards speak, at a multiplicity of levels. They're polysemic, and they have multiple interpretations. With the Lenormand, it's very straightforward. and they speak directly to the issue, to the question you ask. Those are just a few differences there. So at some point it all came together, and the more I read about the Lenormand deck, the more it clicked with me, and I could see these lost paintings coming back to life, as well as old photographs, memories of what was lost forever. Some of these images are just landscapes, vistas of lost paradise, which was not ideal in any way, but rather sweet and sour, but just perfect when I remember them. Oh, and if you want to know more about the Lenormand, I would recommend the book, The Complete Lenormand Oracle Handbook by Caitlin Matthews. There's also another very good book that I find quite useful, The Essential Lenormand, Your Guide to Precise Practical Fortune Telling by Rana George. Rana George actually lives here in Texas. I just found out that she lives here in the Woodlands, Texas. It would be interesting to have a conversation with her. And these are just a few of the books that I've used as resources to find out more about the Lenormand. Unlike the Tarot, which has a vast library of resources that you can just explore and spend a whole lifetime learning about. I mean, there's so much written about the Tarot. With the Lenormand, it's quite different. The material out there, even the cards, the decks, they're quite limited. Not many people know about this deck, which I find quite interesting, and I think more people should learn about the Lenormand and its possibilities, and I'm very excited to be working on it. So here it is, a work still in progress, but one that I had to share with you. I'm determined to publish it once it's complete. Until then, I'll keep you posted as it keeps evolving. And hey, to anyone out there working on something that feels overwhelming, remember, you're not alone. These things take time. Trust the process. Lean into what speaks to your heart. And when doubts creep in, let it remind you of why you started in the first place. And as always, like to say, thank you for watching. May the gods, muses, saints, and angels, or whatever you call these timeless archetypes, be your guides and inspiration. Till next time, keep creating peace. Thank you very much for sticking around till the end. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, hit that subscribe button, and tap the notification bell so you don't miss out on future content. Also, check out the video on the screen right now for more insights and inspiration. Your support means everything to me and helps this channel grow. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next one.